Hey guys and girls, this is part 2 of geometry, which is called polygons. A lot of the same terms that are going to be covered in this unit you have already heard in the first unit of geometry, so that's pretty normal. This is just, part 2. Instead of just having one huge geometry unit, we're going to break this up. And what I'm going to do, instead of giving you one long video for you to have to watch, I'm going to try to break this up per page. So today you're going to have a couple lessons and it's going to be on each page. I know some of you had an opportunity to print this out, which is fine. If you didn't, not a big deal. What you're going to need to do though is to either follow along, or if you wanted to physically type in each of the terms into your Google Doc that you've got on your computer screen, that's also fine, and you can hit the stop button on the videos, whatever is convenient for you. But what we're going to be talking about on this first page, and actually for the next couple of lessons, is something in math called a polygon. And if you're in geometry, your only two definitions that would make you a polygon is it's got to be closed, which means there's no openings anywhere on the shape, and it's made up of line segments. So a polygon has two requirements. It's got to be made up of line segments and it has no openings. A circle is not considered a polygon. It doesn't have any openings, but it's not made of line segments. So those are the two requirements to be a polygon. Well, just like you can categorize different things, for example, if we said the human race, we could categorize men, women, teenagers, adults. There's different ways to categorize that huge group of our humans. It's the same thing with polygons. That's a huge group of shapes. You can now characterize those in different ways. And one of the ways is whether the shapes are congruent. You can describe those shapes as being congruent. So if polygons are congruent, everything is the same. That's like a cookie cutter. So if you're basically just recreating that exact same shape every single time, that would be an example of congruent, like the bricks in a wall. All those are the same shape over and over. Now, if you have the same shape, but the size has changed, like for example, you've shrunk the picture on your computer screen, that's not congruent anymore. That's something called similar. So for example, if in this room I'm looking at the big squares on the ceiling and the little squares on the floor, even though they're the same shape, the size is different. So they're not called congruent anymore. So if congruent, everything's the same. If it's similar, just the shape is the same, but the size is different. So you've got two different things going on there. Now, if a polygon has everything the same, so these would be like the shapes that you learned in kindergarten when you had every single shape and they're all perfect. All the sides are the same. All the angles are the same. It doesn't mean congruent because this shape is not congruent to that shape. What it means is all three angles inside this triangle are the same. All three sides are the same. Just like this square, all of these angles are 90 degrees and all of these sides are the same. When that happens with a polygon, it can be classified as regular. So if a polygon is regular, it's perfect. All the sides are the same and all the angles are the same. Well, if you have one pair of the sides or one pair of the angles that are different, it can't be regular anymore. What it's going to be called is just the opposite. It's going to be called irregular. Now you can see that this rectangle has all four angles the same, but if you notice, these two sides are different than these sides. So when that happens, it's no longer regular, it's called irregular. Okay, and so there's congruent, everything's the same. Similar, shape is the same, size is different. Regular, everything is perfect. All these sides are the same, all the angles have the same measure. Irregular is when something's different. The angles aren't all the same, or maybe the sides aren't the same. Now, even though you and I both would call this the side of this polygon, in geometry it's got a different term. It's called the edge. So if you ever hear the edge, and we're going to be talking more about that with our 3D unit, an edge is any side of that polygon. Now, when two edges join, they form a corner. Well, that corner, we've already talked about that in the first unit. That corner is called the vertex. And the plural of vertex, like for example, this has 4 corners. It's not 4 vertexes. It's called 4 vertices. And so that's why it's a little different. So the 4 vertices of this polygon are the 4 corners. And then finally, at the bottom of this page, you'll notice that this angle is on the inside of the shape, and this angle is actually on the outside of the shape. And you already have heard these words before in your vocabulary. If an angle is on the inside, it's in the interior. And if the angle is on the outside, it's on the exterior. And so these are going to be some terms that we're going to be talking about. So interior, exterior. So edge is basically the side of a polygon. Vertex is the corners, easy way to remember that. And then you have the interior, which is an angle on the inside, and exterior, which is on